Today on Remington's Inside the Industry, I'll be visiting with Laurie Lipsey Aronson, the Chairwoman and Chief Executive Officer of Lipsey's, one of the nation's largest wholesale firearms distributors, located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Laurie is well known and respected in the firearms industry as an astute businesswoman who has dedicated her entire career to this industry, and her insight on the state of the firearms business is well worth listening to. I assure you, you will enjoy her perspective. This podcast is brought to you by Remington Firearms. For more information on the new era of Remington, visit our site at remarms.com. Today I have Laurie Lipsey Aronson, Chairwoman and Chief Executive Officer of Lipsey's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Welcome and thanks for joining me, Laurie.
Well, good day. Thank you so much, Ken. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, Dave told me, he said you were looking forward to it, but maybe a little bit nervous. So
Oh,
I
no,
hope
not
I
at
hope you
all.
no, okay, good.
Well, I don't know
I,
if he was on the phone, if Dave was on the phone talking to me, I might be a little nervous, but with you, it's fine. This is easy.
Oh yeah, well so far, but Dave, he'll slide me notes and say, ask her this, ask her this. So Laurie, give me a little background on Lipsey's, a little background of how of yourself, of where you got involved. I understand that you kind of went from the ground floor up at Lipsey's, so just a little background I think would help everybody.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Lipsey's has been in business since 1953 as a wholesale distributor. And actually, I'll take a quick step back. Our family, the Lipsey family, I'm the third generation to run our family business, but we actually started out in the retail business in 1943 with Steinberg Sports Center. We had 4 retail stores, and those were in business until about 1989 when we closed them down to focus on our wholesale business. But the wholesale side of the business, which we are in today, really started in 1953. So we just celebrated our 70th anniversary proudly last year, something we are very proud of.
You
And
should be
it's a
you
family
should be proud of
business.
that. You should be proud of that. Not a lot of companies have
Thank
lasted that
you.
long. Sorry for interrupting.
No, please do. I can get long-winded. I can sit here and talk all day. But no, we've been in business for a very long time, and we focused, again, strictly on the wholesale side of the business. Obviously, we started again with wholesale strictly in about 1989, so it's been a while. So we are proud to have a single location. We're in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we just focus on firearms. We don't carry but a few other, just a handful of other categories, some accessories and optics that we do a hell of a business with. Our focus has always been on firearms, and we've got about 180 people here at our single location. We're all under one roof here in Baton Rouge, and we've really created a great culture over these years operating that way. But I'm quite fortunate because I did know my grandfather who, started in this business in 1943, although I was 5 years old when he passed away. But I've had the good fortune of working alongside my father, Richard Lipsey, for, I've been in the business now. This is my 31st year, which is hard to believe, but it's true, 31 years. But I've enjoyed every single minute of it. And my dad has been right here by my side all this time as, my best friend and my mentor. And he has been in the industry for many, many years. He joined our company back in 1964 after he returned from the Army. So this is, he's been in here for 60 years. It's been quite a while. And he has enjoyed this industry so much. And he still comes in every day. He stepped aside many years ago and let my team and me run this business and have always been appreciative, to him for that. But thank goodness I'm surrounded by an unbelievable team, and we're just doing really unbelievable things here at Lipsey's.
It's actually it's kind of cool when you can when you're taking over a company and you're growing in a company that you've got a mentor, especially a family mentor that you can bounce ideas off, ask questions to, get some direction from, because the one challenge of being a chief executive is there's not usually anybody that you can go to for guidance because you're kind of the top of the heap. But if in a family, I think you can look elsewhere for some, maybe not guidance, but just I've been involved in a number of turnaround organizations, and quite often the private equity groups that own them or that have just acquired them say, "How can we help?" And I said, I only want one thing out of you. I want to be able to bounce ideas off of you, because I can't bounce all ideas off of my staff because some of them may have dire consequences to those staff. So if you can talk to somebody like your father, that's a pretty good thing, I think.
It's great, and he's always been there for me. And like I said, it's to have that mentor more or less at your beck and call has really been so beneficial. And it's nice. I mean, when I became the president back in 2002, so it's been a few years. Back in 2002, he really did the toughest thing for someone like him, with his personality and his managing style. He really stepped away to let me run it. But the very first lesson, I mean, literally, Ken, from day one, first lesson I learned in there was that this is not a one man or one woman team. I knew I had to really go through and identify what my strengths and weaknesses were in running a business. Doesn't matter if it's this business, this industry, it didn't matter. But I had an awful lot to learn. And so that's when I started uh, assessing the team in place, and realized we needed to expand our leadership team. And when you can identify what your strengths and weaknesses are, then you pull in people who are smarter than you, who can make you better, um, and vice versa. Our key to success has been all these years is really identifying what our um, what our opportunities are in our leadership teams, where we really could use some more expertise than anyone around the table has. And that's really been probably the most fun part of my job all these years is bringing people on and letting them do their thing, and doing what my dad did to me is just kind of step out the way and let them go.
Yeah, I've been as I said, I've been a turnaround guy most of my life, and always in the outdoor sports, not always the firearms, but for the last 20 years in the firearms or related firearms industry. And my first day in the office with the executive staff, I tell them, look, if I'm good at certain things, not at everything, and if you're going to just text me or phone me or email me for the answer, then I'm going to fire you, because I sure the hell don't need you. I expect staff to make decisions. I expect them to live by their decision. Now there has to be. I would also expect that staff, the same as yours, there's a limit to how much they can make a mistake. You don't want
Of
it to be
course.
a huge one, but I think if you've got good people, you're as a chief executive is you're. I tell my staff, I said, my job is to make sure there's no roadblocks up preventing you from doing your job. And if there are some roadblocks, you need to tell me about them, because I might be able to take them down. So it's interesting to hear you say virtually exactly the same thing.
And I think it's true, and I think I probably share that sentiment with a lot of other business owners out there. Again, the hardest part for some people is really identifying, again, what are those strengths that other people have that you don't have, and really letting them take that over. I always use the expression that each of us on the team, while we work together and we make collaborative decisions, and we have a lot of crossover, but it's okay that everyone kind of has their own lane. And just because you move someone into a position let's say, um, occupied by someone else, you don't have to be a replica of that person. Everyone's got their own twist or their own expertise, perhaps in the same subject, but can do it a little differently, a little better, perhaps more efficient. And that's okay. And that's what you hope people will kind of take and run with it. But it's been exciting to be able to grow our team that way. And I would think that our team members are appreciative of the fact that I let them do their jobs.
Well, my experience has been with organizations and with team members. They're not just excited about it; they're ecstatic about it, because a lot of bosses, if that's what you want to call us, a lot of them don't allow that. And I think that allowing them the freedom to do what they need to do is great. Because again, I tell my staff, I said, it doesn't matter if we're all going to go out for dinner and we're all taking our own cars. It doesn't matter which path we take to that restaurant, as long as we all show up at the restaurant at the given time. How we get there is kind of immaterial. So,
No,
yeah. And I see
yeah.
so many CEOs expect everybody to do things. Not just CEOs, but managers expect everybody to do things exactly the way they would. And I think that that's just not the way of the world.
No, it absolutely is not. Again, with even just the personalities alone, but for me, it's always been beneficial to also learn how my leaders lead, and they all have a way of, again, approaching their teams and managing their teams. And it's really been good to watch them grow and to give them the opportunities to grow and to, hire people under them. And, we're always looking for our next, what's our next layer of leadership, if you will. And in other words, to grow any business, you have to have good leadership, and you have to have people in the pipeline, if you will, who are going to be the next ones to step up and take on more responsibility.
Yeah, my chief human resources officer has been with Remington for 25 years, and she loves to make sure that every one of our managers has succession planning. To build themselves out of a job, of course.
Right.
But it is an important
Exactly.
thing.
Including myself, right?
Yes, exactly.
We're all
you know,
replaceable.
yep. No, I'm not going to say that. Yeah, yes, we are. We are. That's true. There might be a bit of a hiccup, but I think so. I remember, just to know how I came about at Remington. I was the CEO of Crosman back in 2001. I came to prepare the company for sale, private equity group. I stayed for 10 years or 11 years, sold the company 4 times, blah, 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 all that kind of fun things. And during the time, I got to know Remington a little bit. Tommy Milner was the CEO.
Oh,
And
yeah, I know Tommy.
yeah, Tommy's a great guy. And I wouldn't say that to his face, but he truly is a good guy. But I got to know Remington at the time because I licensed the brand. And then over the years, I as a licensee, worked with them and told the Cerberus guys when they came and suggested we need to double down on our licensing fee, or they were going to go into the airgun business themselves. I shook their hand and say, "Congratulations, you're in the airgun business." And we know what happened with Cerberus and Remington. It wasn't a pretty thing. But I came after Cerberus put it into Chapter 11, and J.P. Morgan Chase asked me if I would join the board, etc., which I did and took over a year later, and then shortly thereafter put it back into Chapter 11 because the woke owners of the company wouldn't invest more money into it, which it needed.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when I first took over, looking at the playing field, and I asked one of our VP of sales, I said, "Why aren't we doing any business with Lipsey's?" Because at the time we weren't, and
Yep.
he said I don't know why. Nobody could really tell us why. Something happened sometime,
It did.
but I don't even know what it was, and I don't care if you tell me.
Water under the bridge. It
It's
was
water under the bridge, but
so
I
long ago.
it was, but it's unbelievable how long these. It's like the Hatfield and the McCoys. It's how long they can last. But I'm thrilled that we're doing business with Lipsey's again because I've always thought Lipsey's was just a fabulous organization, and so sometime over a coffee or a beer, you can tell me the story about why we weren't.
Oh, oh,
But I'm
I'd be
grateful that
happy
we are.
to. It's
But
so
I'm
old.
grateful
It's
that we
so
are. Yeah,
old.
yeah, I don't understand, but anyway, so but none of my team actually knew; they had no idea. But perseverance, and I think having a decent brand and working well, so we are back on the radar, and we're doing a good job. We're excited to be involved with Lipsey's again, and happy that you're happy with our product. So thanks very much for that, and I look forward to hearing more about the past, just a little
Oh
bit.
gosh, really? No. You know what? Let's talk about the future because
Yes.
that's where all the interest lies. And look, in this industry is so small, and you've been in it long enough to know it's small. We're powerful and we're mighty, and we've got great people in Washington and around the country trying to protect us. But um, the industry itself is just small. It just is, and everybody knows each other. And if you're friends with someone at one company one day, you better stay friends with them because they're probably going to move to one of their competitors the next day, and you'll be working with them again. But look, we've got definitely the future to look forward to, and just so excited that we were able to pick up Remington several years ago. That was such a I felt like a feather in our cap once again, and um, our company was too big not to have them.
Well, we're thrilled. We really are. There's just been so many things have happened with Remington, which we'll chat about a little bit. Not right at this very second, but no, we're thrilled to be involved with Lipsey's again because it's an iconic company and we've got an iconic brand and we should be working with each other. I did meet a couple of your people. I don't remember, about a year ago, a little longer. They were visiting, they were shooting or hunting with Camp Bailey, who Camp is one of the partners of Cryptic in South Texas, and Camp wanted to come over and meet me. I happened to be at a place called FTW Ranch, which was about half an hour drive. So he came over with two of the people from Lipsey. So I had a chance to meet them. Anyhow, tell because I look, this is mostly consumer related. Most of the people that are listening will be consumers. Well, actually, before I go on to that, there's a good story because when we first put Remington back into Chapter 11, I had heard through the grapevine that a particular person, pretty big company, didn't really like me, although we'd never met personally. And I was at a Georgia quail hunt put on by Georgia State, and he was there, and I walked over and said, "Hey, I'm Ken Darcy. We've never met." And I said, "I heard a rumor that you don't like me." He said, "Well, that's first of all, that's not true, because we've never met." But he said, secondly, even if I didn't maybe like you that much, we're a small industry, and we all need to like each other because we're all battling the rest of the world.
Uh, well, there's a lot of truth right there.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what the role of a company like Lipsey's is in the shooting sports industry.
So for your listeners who are not familiar with how our industry works, so we are a wholesale distributor. So we're the middleman. We're not, you don't see our name on the dealer shelves when you're out going to purchase a firearm. Well, not yet, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But in general, you don't. You see the Remingtons and all the other big names in the industry on the shelves. And as a wholesale distributor, our role in the industry is to take, um, I'll call it a load off of our manufacturing partners. So we actually, inventory and house and distribute all of our firearms out of our own warehouse on our own premises. So we take an enormous, investment, it's a financial investment to be a wholesale distributor. So the manufacturers should and do, and you probably know where I'm going with this, um, do what they do best, and that's manufacturing firearms or accessories or ammo or whatever else you do. Our job is to efficiently get them distributed into the retailer's hands. So we have a huge sales force, that handles that. We're all business to business, and while we don't sell directly to the consumer, obviously, um, we our lipseys.com is for our dealers, and if you go to lipseysguns.com, you can get information as a consumer, as well about where to find the firearms that you might be looking for. But our job is to take the load off of our manufacturers to make, again, that financial investment to bring in the inventory. We have hired and trained our sales staff to sell to the retailers, and we also have an efficient warehouse that can box things on an individual um, basis, where our manufacturers should be in the business of shipping pallets and not shipping onesies to this retailer to this retailer. Although, look, I know several of the manufacturers do sell both direct to retailers as well as to distributors, but pretty much all of them have a pretty large, or a majority, a distribution arm. And of course, there are some manufacturers who do nothing but distribution, and of course, we appreciate that. But it's important, us as distributors play a really very, very important role, and really take a lot off of the manufacturers that they should not have to handle. So for the past, gosh, I can't quite, you get old, you can't remember so much anymore, but I believe I've been on the NASGW board. NASGW is for the National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers. Again, not something your consumers would necessarily be familiar with, but it is made up of all of the distributors in the country. And, we work together to make sure that we're doing the best job that we can for our manufacturing partners. And so we, again, take on the role of that distribution. We're located all across the country, and we all sell basically the same products, but there are a few of us who really get into what we call our exclusives, and that's where we go to our manufacturers and we tweak up a little bit, something a little different that they haven't made before, and we sell them to our dealer network. So when I said before at the beginning of this part here, talking about how you don't necessarily see our name Lipsey's on the shelves when you're trying to buy your firearms of choice in the stores, you may see the word or the term Lipsey's exclusive. So basically what that means is that we have gone direct to the manufacturer, who we work with on a daily basis anyway, but we've asked them to make something just for us that we sell to our retailers. That was a very long
No,
answer to, I think, what you were asking me.
no. That was actually a very thorough answer, not a long answer. It was a very thorough and good answer, because I think a lot of people don't understand. I think they maybe don't understand, but I think there's a lot of people that don't even know that companies like Lipsey's are in existence. Because they go to their local store and in their town of 10,000 people, and think, oh, that person's got a Remington 870. They must have bought it from Remington. No, actually, they probably bought it from Lipsey's.
Well, no, and that's true. And again, and we're fine being that, that silent middleman, and that's okay. We've been doing it for 70 years. But again, sometimes you'll see a Lipsy's exclusive, out in the marketplace, and that's why you would see our name. But because we have such a, and by the way, you may be familiar, but we do our own Lipsy's podcast now with Jason Klausner, who is our vice president, who's our senior vice president, as well as our product development manager. And no one in the entire industry is better at this than Jason. But he and Rob Aberzino, who is our marketing director, have a podcast that they have come out with a few years ago, and that sure has been fun. Perhaps we'll have you on one day.
Sure,
Um,
love to.
and have such a good time with that. But Jason really handles all of our exclusives. And if you go to, like I was saying, if your listeners go to lipsysguns.com, they can look up our exclusives, and they can look up and they can see, what else that we're working on. And like it's a lot of fun. We're trying to, you know, do all sorts of fun things in the marketplace, not just so that our name will be known. It's really just about the market, and it's about identifying our exclusives, and just building better relationships with our retailers and our manufacturers.
What there's been, as we well know, a couple of pretty major wholesale distributors that are no longer with us anymore.
Correct.
Well, look,
Yeah.
I'm not ecstatic about it, but I sort of am, because the private equity group that owned them were the sleaziest assholes, excuse my language,
Oh wow.
that
Yeah.
I've ever met in my life. So
I know who you're talking about. They'll
yeah,
remain nameless. I know exactly
yeah.
who you
So
mean.
yeah. So why does that happen? Are they just not good at what they did? Did they just try to buy market share by reducing their margins? What kind of happened with companies like that?
Well, I'll tell you. So I told you I've been in the industry for 31 years. When I started at our company at Lipsey's all those years ago, there were about there were a little over 100 wholesale distributors. That's an
Wow.
awful lot of distributors. There were large ones, there were small ones. Um, and over the years, you see a few go by the wayside. I couldn't even name them all, off the top of my head because there were so many. Today, 31 years later, there are about 20 wholesale distributors. So to watch that number go down, but it's with good reason. And I'll tell you, number one, all those years ago, there were people who were some of the largest, had some of the biggest names, but they would give away product. And again, I'm talking about on the wholesale distributor side, and of course that bled down into the retailers side as well, where people were just giving away product. And in our industry, and again, this is no secret to anybody, in our industry in general, our margins are very, very thin. This is not whether it's clothing or even accessories in our own market, where everything is so, marked up. Firearms has such a small margin from, on the manufacturing side to distribution down to um, down to the retailers. So I just, that's, I think, a very important point to make. But over time, people would give product away. And then there's still a couple people out there who attempt to do it. But, that doesn't have to be done. and to maintain price integrity from manufacturing down all the way to retailer, is very important so that our consumers get the best value for what it is that they're buying. But not managing their business certainly got a hold of a lot of people. And there were also mistakes made along the way with real estate and other purchases and trying to um, do things that they were not managing their business. I don't want to just say managing their money, but that's all kind of an encompassing way of saying personnel to um, personnel to payroll to real estate purchases to trying to be everything to everybody, and just got people in trouble over the years. But there are 20 strong distributors remaining, and I feel like, and then look, our businesses, the gun industry is, of course, doing very well. We have a lot of, thankfully, consumers. There's still such a high demand for firearms for any number of reasons, and we've kept our place in the food chain all these years, but for a reason. We've taken that financial investment to take that load off of the manufacturers, and that's why we're here today.
Well, when I first took over Remington, it's interesting you talk about giving things away. Excuse me. When I first took over Remington, I started to look at, when I was on the board, and then when I became the CEO, I started to look at what we were selling our product for, and I said we can't do this. We're putting $100 bill inside of every box there is of certain product,
Mm-hmm.
and so a number of, not even a number of years, I said, this is what we have to do. And people said, well, yeah, but people won't buy. Well, we taught people a lot of bad things. First of all, we taught them to wait and wait and wait because we would give them a better price. And so if you know that, if I tell you, Laurie, here's this gun you can buy for $400 today, and you know that if you wait for a month that it's going to be $350, why wouldn't you wait? So we taught them to do things like that.
Yep.
Remington just conducted themselves. I think what they did is they chased the market share, and market share is just not a place to go. So I look at some of our competitors and say, you know what? I like our 870. Our 870 is an iconic gun that has been around for as long as I've been around.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, now for sure, it is the best pump action shotgun in the world. I don't think anybody can compete with it. So why don't we sell it for a price that we're satisfied with our margin? And if people don't want to buy it, that's okay. It's perfectly okay. If you say that's too expensive, I'll go, okay, that's fine. Don't buy it.
So exactly, and there's that fine line of that. You've got to create value in anything that you are selling, and the retailers out there, um, obviously, they've got to be able to carry the full spectrum of manufacturers available. You're not a real gun shop if you don't have Remington on your shelves, or many of the others. But it's so important that that value is created. And I think in general, um, our industry, has done a pretty good job. We can be promotional, but not too promotional. I think promotional at the right time, not a promotion of the day, because then you are waiting, and you are, waiting for that next big thing. And that game of wait is a terrible thing in the distribution business as well as in the retail business. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's all about turns and turning inventory. And these, the thousands of retailers out there, they're not museums, they're retailers. Their job is to sell and to replenish. And that's exactly what a distribution partner, does as well. Again, we're not special. We just happen to sell firearms. And it just so happens that we just happen to have products with very, very low margins. So I think your listeners, the consumers, can understand that, you know, yeah, your retailer has the authority to put whatever price he or she wants on an item and be as promotional as they want. But in general, you're getting a good value for what you're going to see on the shelves, as long as, like you said, Ken, as long as the manufacturer just doesn't have a deal of the day and you're always waiting for something, then you should be okay.
Well, when I took over, what I did, I sat down with our staff and I said, look, I think there's, and this is just Ken Darcy's opinion. People can take it or not take it, but I think it's pretty accurate. I said, we need to do three things really well. We need to have high quality product. Now, the quality of Remington guns from that multi-year period where the private equity group owned them, that didn't care about quality, they cared about market share. The quality was not great. So we have to have a quality product, which today I know that we are getting less than 0.3% return. So I know our quality is really high.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give great service. Whatever that means to you, our customer, we have to give as good a service as we possibly can. And the third thing is we have to be innovative. We have to come up with something new, something different, or not necessarily new and different, but we need to have a different stock on this model here. We need to do some of this, some of that, some of the other thing. If we do those three things, we'll probably be just fine. We'll have good partners that appreciate us because they are getting a quality product that they can rely on for a fair price. They're getting good service, and they know they're going to get something else in the not too distant future, or in your case, maybe something that is Lipsey's exclusive. So if we do those three things, I think we're pretty good, and that's how I feel from the manufacturing standpoint. So one of the things that I found is the 870, again, I'll say, is the most iconic pump-action shotgun made, and over the years they decided to not tumble it quite as well, so it would catch up a little bit when not catch up so that it wouldn't work, but they made the pump a little bit more difficult. That tumbling job is about, well, I don't know, maybe 30 cents. Why would you hurt the quality of your product to save 30 cents? It just makes no sense. You should never, exactly. And if it's 30 cents or $3, if that's going to dip into your margins where you can't do it, then add the price and say, look, I'm sorry, but this is the price, and buy it or don't buy it. That's what I think is really important. So our quality today is like it's never been before, and I hope Lipsey's and others see that. And I'm hearing all good things, so I'm pretty proud of the
You're
quality.
right on. You have every right to say that. You absolutely do. And so, those items you just named a minute ago, it's not much different than Lipsey's. We give of course, a great value, and our equivalent of having a good product is our service and our culture. And our company is all about culture. And that is our service is an extension of our culture. And that's what has, made us, the top distributor all these years, is exactly that. But innovation, you use the word innovation, it's just right there in the front of our website. We've got to innovate in a lot of different ways, not just in product, with our exclusives, but we were always trying to think of something new to make ourselves better. And, again, to stay in our lane. We don't try to do what other people are doing. We're just trying to do what Lipsey's would do, in that instance. And that's what's gotten us to where we are today.
Well, I think that's another important thing, because I hear and have heard for many, many years people, my sales agents talking about, well, these guys are doing this and these guys are doing that and somebody else is doing that. And I think there's some value there. But the reality is, I think good companies set their own path, make their own decisions, and they stick to those. And they make other people follow them instead of the company following somebody else. I think that's what
Right.
Lipsey's is probably setting your own path and saying, hey, we're going to go down our path. And we believe strongly it's the correct path. It's way better than you following Midway, for instance, or whoever it might be.
True.
Yeah.
No, that's very true. But we stay in our own lane, and you're mindful of what your competition is doing. But you just have to make your own decisions and keep going.
Yeah. No, look, I think you have a lot of. You said that you're on the board of NASGW,
Right.
or
I'm currently still on the board. I was chair for 3 years. I've been on the board of NASGW. It's been, gosh, probably about 12, 15 years, somewhere in there, but I was the chair for 3 years. I still sit on the board, but I'm also on the board of governors for the NSSF, which,
oh,
as you
okay,
know, is the National Shooting
yeah,
Sports Foundation. And I guess I'm in my fourth year of being on that board,
okay, yes,
which is our industry board.
of course, Larry Keene and I have had multiple conversations. Which everybody in the firearms industry has talked to Larry before.
Yeah, right. You hope you do, you hope you don't. But he is, I'll tell you, I'll give my plug for NSSF right now. Um, our industry would just be in terrible shape without them. They are good. Larry Keene is spectacular. He really is the industry's lead attorney and is so knowledgeable. And if I have a question just about almost anything going on these days, I call Larry Keene. He really has done a wonderful job for that organization. That entire team at NSSF does a hell of a job for a fairly small staff. Knowing what they do for the entire industry is truly remarkable.
Yeah, they truly are the advocates that we need. They've been involved. Of course, you're well aware that we were in upstate New York, and I say that in past tense because we're not there anymore. And part of the reason was that all the stupid things that were going on in New York. But I remember Larry was talking to me on a fairly regular basis about the different legislative things that New York State did, and so I'm happy not to be there any longer. We just have, and also I'm telling you, that we've already shut that factory down. We're going to Georgia. We're building a
Right.
new factory, which is very exciting, but it's going to be a real challenge for us this year because we just don't have our new factory up and running until probably October. So, production, we're fine with most things, but we'll be somewhat challenged with production. But, for the future, that's okay. I can live with that. But Larry was not just Larry, but NSSF was leading the charge on multiple legislative things just in New York. So anyhow, Dave had written down here that you were on the board for NSSF, and since you hadn't mentioned it before but talked about NASGW, I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, thank you very much.
So, what, have you seen any change or much change within our industry from online sales over the 30 years that you've been? Certainly, you would have over the 30 years, but man, the last 10 or 15 years.
Oh, clearly. Um, you know, we always just joked about just the industry in general is kind of outdates ourselves with the lack of, technology and innovation. And I think, there are many of us out there in the manufacturing world and now in the certainly the distribute. Hell, I think the distributors got there before the manufacturers did. Sorry, but we've all become innovative and more, tech savvy over the years. But it's, there are a lot of retailers out there doing online sales, and again, for firearms, but the and accessories. But at least we still have the good old 4473. So you have to go into a retail store, of course, to purchase a firearm because you've got to, pass the FBI NICS background check, which of course is crucial,
Oh,
and
But Laurie,
required.
you know that we're all selling guns illegally according to
Oh,
our
geez,
current
don't even get
administrative.
me started. Do not. It's in like, no, those are just called thieves. The people who are stealing firearms. These are not
Yes.
regular Americans out there getting guns that way.
No, no, of
It's
course. Look,
impossible. It
I
is
tell people
impossible.
I don't even think that the pharmaceutical industry is as regulated as we are.
Oh,
So
clear. Oh, not even close.
when I hear these people, for instance, uh, us and many other, like 30 other manufacturers have been sued by a couple of upstate New York cities because we sold too many firearms. Well, excuse me, we sold them all legally. We can't, as you well know, I can't ship a firearm without it coming off my A&D book, and you can't receive one without it going on yours, and then you
Can't
can't
be
have
done.
it. Then you have to. The only way to get it off is to ship it to another place, and they have to do a NICS check to get it off there. So, when I hear about all these illegal firearms, I go, well, I wonder who the hell's got them because nobody I know sells them illegally.
Well, again, you can't. So if you, for instance, if you go to Lipsey's.com, which is our main dealer site, anybody has access to it, but only our retailers can, log in to see pricing and availability, et cetera. And so the retailers who we ship to, who've gone to our website to look at it, are people who, again, for people who don't realize, you have to be a federally licensed retailer with an FFL to be able to purchase firearms from any of the manufacturers or the distributors. And so we only sell to federally licensed retailers. And those licensed retailers they look at our website, and you buy everything. I mean, we're buying toilet paper online now, for God's sakes. So in order to do anything online with any firearms company, you have to be a qualified licensed retailer, to be able to do so. But online sales in general over the years, of course, that's picked up, but it will never replace you actually going in, not just to buy the firearm, but good Lord, you need training and you want to, understand, especially if you're a first time buyer, you've got to go to the retail store and, look at what are your options. Are you, what type of a firearm, especially for concealed carry, personal protection, you've got to know what it is that you want and what you're comfortable with and get training on it. So, you know, hopefully that will never ever go away, is having our valuable retailers out there for the consumer to go in to learn about the firearm.
Well, I think that consumers of the firearms, and not just the firearms, but in general, the outdoor consumer of outdoor product, they are so passionate about what they do. They love to talk about it, and we're better to talk about it than to go into a retailer and talk to them about it because they have the same passion. So hopefully that doesn't go away. I don't see it going away. But I also,
Right.
at the same time, see a lot of people that you talked about training. I've seen this. I've raced cars professionally, and if I hadn't had a knee surgery a year ago, I probably would still be doing it and will once the knee's better. But I've seen many people think, oh, all I have to do is get a better car and I'll be much faster. I've seen the same thing in firearms. All I have to do is get a custom center fire, and then I'll be a much better shot. Nobody ever seems to think they need to take some training, but
Well, training is as important or more important than anything else you can do. I mean, there aren't many products you buy out there, consumer products, that you have to learn how to use it. You don't even just buy a new lawnmower, for God's sakes, without learning how to use it. Firearms is no different, and it's so important. So getting that training, from a retailer, is everything.
but it's interesting that you said, because one of the things that I think with time we'll see probably more and more online sales. But the one great thing is that whether it's be online or not, the consumer still has to go into that retail store or whatever of their choice, and they still have to get a NICS check. And if they go into that store, they're very likely to go out with ammunition, with
That's right.
any number of other things that they need.
Gun locks, a gun case,
Right.
um, any number of things. I mean, that's just as imperative.
And Lipsey's only is in you other than the firearms, you're not fishing, not hiking,
Oh,
etc. Just firearms.
years ago, between the 40s and 1989, we were a full line retailer and distributor, from fishing to camping to footwear. Gosh, we were the owners of the Converse brand from 1977 to 1989. So we were in footwear for an awfully long time, but we carried everything. And my dad had gone to Harvard Business School, many years later after he had been in business. And they said, Richard, it's time to focus. So he got rid of everything. He sold everything off except for the firearms, because, look, my dad's a smart man. He knew that, firearms are something that sell well in in a good economy when people have extra money to spend. They buy these commodities, but also in a down economy when people are fearful, or tragedies going on in the world and war and terrible things like that, people buy firearms because they're scared. So I don't want to say we're recession proof or completely economically proof for what's going on around us, but there is definitely there's a high demand for firearms most of the time.
Well, and especially I think in the last 4 or 5 years, I mean, there always has been, whenever there's an election cycle, we see something, but the last number of years, I remember telling people, I said, it's like a perfect storm. You've had civil unrest, and now all of a sudden people are very concerned with that. You've had COVID, where people weren't seeing the shelves in the grocery stores stocked. And along with that, the younger generation, and not just the younger generation, but even a lot of us older people, older farts, are going, hey, look, this, the best food is what I shoot myself. So there's just been a lot of things happen that have driven the firearm sales, I think, even more and more and more. And I don't see that changing over the next 10, 15 years. I'd be somewhat shocked if it does.
I agree with you.
So, Laurie, I think we could talk for a lot longer. Oh, by the way, just now that your father is a Harvard grad, how's he enjoying the heat that Harvard has been under recently?
Oh gosh, I don't even think he would even, comment on that. I just, look, all I can do is speak for myself and just say that's, goodness gracious, do those university administrators not just speak up and do what's right and not have to follow a mold all the time? Goodness gracious. Do you not have a mind of your own? Shame on them.
Yeah, it seems not. And now Columbia is doing the same. Your father would probably say, it's not the school I went to.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Laurie, on that, I'm going to thank you and give you an opportunity to give us a very quick website address, and then we'll shut it down.
Oh, sure. So just go to Lipsey's, Lipseys, Lipseys.com, or lipseysguns.com. That's more of our consumer site there. But you can, it's a great resource. We've got the best IT team on the planet here at Lipsey's, and they've made everything very user friendly. But most importantly, they'll direct you to your retailer to make your firearms purchase.
Laurie, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I look forward to getting to meet you in the very near future. I'd love to come out to Baton Rouge and have a visit.
Well, we would welcome you anytime, and you could even bring Dave along.
No, 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 no.
I'm
I'm
there.
I'm not going to travel with Dave that long.
I'm there.
Yeah, he says he's there. All right. Laurie, thanks very much for your time. It was really a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thank y'all so much. Have a wonderful day.
All right. You too. Thanks, Laurie.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.